going to look at the ending balance application from tutorial 5-1 in your textbook. The idea behind this application is that you'll enter the starting balance for a savings account, and it's a savings account that pays 0.5% interest per month, compounded monthly. You'll enter the starting balance in a text box, and then you'll enter a number of months in another text box, and you'll click this calculate button, and the application will calculate the ending balance of the account, and it will display it here in this label control. There's also a clear button and an exit button. Now the form has already been created for you, and in step 3 of the tutorial you'll begin writing the code for the calculate button. So let's switch over to the code editor. I've already written all of the code for this tutorial. So let's just take a look at the code and make sure that you understand it. Here we have the calculate button's click event handler, and the first thing that we do is declare a constant for the interest rate. Then we declare our local variables. Here we have the balance variable. We're going to read the starting balance from a text box, and we're going to store it in this variable. Next, we have a months variable. We're going to read the number of months from a text box and store it in this variable. And then we have a variable named count, which is initialized at 1. This variable is going to be a loop counter because we're going to use a loop to calculate the ending balance in the account. And basically the loop is going to iterate once for each month. In other words, if the user enters 12 for months, then the loop is going to iterate 12 times. If the user enters 3 for months, the loop will iterate 3 times, and so forth. Next, we are going to read the input. We're going to read the values for the starting balance and the months, but we're going to validate those values, and we're going to use the try-parse methods to perform the validation. So here we have an if statement that calls the decimal.try-parse method. And we're going to validate the starting balance. We're going to read that value from the text box, and if it is a valid decimal, we will store that value in the balance variable. If it's not valid, then the program will jump to this else clause, which displays an error message. Now, if the starting balance is valid, then we're going to read the number of months. We'll use the int.try-parse method to do that. If the value in that text box is a valid integer, we will store the integer in the months variable. But if it's not, the program will jump to this else clause, and it will display an error message. Now, if our input is valid, then the program will execute this while loop, while count is less than or equal to months. So recall that count is initialized at 1, so as long as count is less than or equal to the number of months, then the loop will iterate. And inside the loop, the first thing that we do is perform this calculation. Balance equal balance plus interest rate times balance. So basically, this will calculate the amount of interest that the account has earned for 1 month, okay, interest rate times balance. It adds that value to the existing balance, and then that sum is assigned to the balance variable. So this statement will calculate the ending balance for the current month. And then the next step is to perform this statement, count equals count plus 1. So this simply adds 1 to the count variable, and then the loop starts over. So as you can see, this loop will execute once for each month. Now, after the loop has performed all of its iterations, then the balance variable will hold the ending balance, and we simply need to display that value. So here, we're going to convert the balance variable to a string, and we're going to use currency formatting, and we will assign that string to the text property of the ending balance label, and that will display the balance. Okay, so the next step that you will do is you'll write the code for the clear buttons click event handler. It's simply going to clear the text boxes, and the label control, we just set their text properties to an empty string, and then here we're going to set the focus back to the starting balance text box. And then the last step that you'll perform is to write the code for the exit button. You're simply going to close the form. Okay, so that's all of the code for the application. So let's go ahead and run the application. Okay, so step 6 in the tutorial tells us to enter 1,000 as the starting balance, and 48 as the number of months, and the value that we get is $1,270.49, and that's according to the tutorial, that's the correct value. So we'll click the clear button to clear all of those values, and you'll notice the focus returns to the starting balance text box. Now we're going to enter 100, and we're going to enter 1, and we should get $100.50. We earned 50 cents interest for that 1 month. The application seems to be working correctly, and you can go ahead and try other values to further test the application.